Our story begins in the Italian town of Messina, where the wealthy Leonardo, his daughter Hero, and niece Beatrice are told by a messenger that Leonardo's friend Don Pedro is on his way to visit after winning a war, one that is never mentioned in the play ever again. Leonardo isn't really given a lot of time to prepare for his guest. 5 minutes later, in comes Don Pedro with his entourage: Claudio, Benedict, and Don Pedro's illegitimate brother, Don John, the Bastard, which should maybe give you a clue that he's the bad guy of the play. As soon as Beatrice and Benedict lay eyes on each other, they begin their merry war, which happens every time they meet. You know what they say: if someone picks on you, it's because they secretly like you. Leonardo then decides to invite them all to stay at his house for a month, which is extremely generous since the man literally just found out that they were even coming for a visit. Meanwhile, Claudio tells his pal Benny that he loves Leonardo's daughter and he wants to marry her, even though they haven't spoken a single word to each other. Not that Hero talks that much in this play anyway. Super upset that his friend has decided to give up on the bachelor life and declaring that he will never get married, Benny hops away. So Claudio asks Don Pedro to be his wingman, a job which he takes very seriously. That night, there just so happens to be a masquerade ball, so Don Pedro decides that he will wear a mask and pretend to be Claudio and woo Hero for him. Sounds like a foolproof plan. Later, Leonardo runs into his older brother Antonio, who says his servant overheard Claudio and Don Pedro talking and thinks Don Pedro, and not Claudio, has professed his love for Hero and plans on proposing. Leonardo says he will not listen to the rumor until it is proved to be true, but decides to go and tell Hero about it anyway. Meanwhile, Don the Bastard John is sulking and flat out tells his servant that he is a, quote, plain-dealing villain, and that he is jealous of his brother. Don John's other servant comes in and says that he's heard a rumor about the upcoming courting and marriage between Claudio and Hero. Wow, news travels fast in Messina. So anyway, our villain decides to use this information to make trouble for Claudio, because he is jealous of him too. I guess the guy's gotta have a hobby, right? At the party, all the men are wearing masks, and apparently the women can't tell who anyone is. Because Shakespeare. Benedict dances with Beatrice, who either doesn't know it's him or does know but pretends to not know, as she incessantly complains about Benedict and how boring he is to his face. Chances are she definitely knows it's him. At the same time, Hero is dancing with Don Pedro, who is flirting with her while pretending to be Claudio. Don John, trying to thwart their plans, tells Claudio that his brother plans on keeping Hero for himself, and Claudio gets upset. Don Pedro reveals that he has won Hero for Claudio, and Claudio stops being mad pretty much right away. If you can't already tell, Claudio's mind has changed pretty easily. Hero and Claudio get engaged and decide to get married in a week. Fun party. To help pass the time before the wedding, because, I don't know, a week is just far too long a wait, Don Pedro, Claudio, Hero, and Leonardo agree to make Bea and Ben stop bickering with one another and fall in love, because, as everyone around them can see, the two are perfect for each other. A few days later, Benny's wandering around the orchard, as one does, and hears his friends talking. So he hides in a tree, because he, I don't know, just doesn't feel like talking to them? Okay, well, Don Pedro, Claudio, and Leonardo make up a story for Benedict, because they definitely know he's up in the tree, to overhear about how much Beatrice adores Benedict. This can be no trick, Benny thinks, because why would they lie about something like this? Especially Leonardo. He's old. Everybody knows old guys don't lie. So he changes his mind about marriage and plans to go after Beatrice. Also walking around in the orchard, Beatrice hears Hero and her maid Ursula talking about how Benedict loves her, so she too hides in a tree. Seems to be a popular spot. Upon hearing about his love for her, Beatrice exclaims, "Benedict, love on, I will requite thee," and decides to give him a chance. Meanwhile, Don John comes up with a new plan, since his first one didn't work. He tells Pedro and Claudio that Hero is being unfaithful and brings them to her window at night, and the men see Hero, with Don John's servant Baraccio. What they don't know is that it isn't Hero at all, but her servant Margaret dressed in Hero's clothing. Filled with anger, Claudio decides to humiliate Hero at their wedding, instead of asking her about it, like somebody rational might do. Later that night, Baraccio is bragging to his pal Conrad about the act, and the two are overheard by Detective Dogberry and arrested. The next morning, Dogberry arrives to tell Leonardo about the men, but he has some trouble with his words, which annoys Leonardo, so Dogberry is shooed away in order for the ceremony to begin. Now, Dogberry is the clown of the play, pretty much every Shakespearean comedy has one. Even his tragedies and histories have them, but we'll save that for another time. What makes Dogberry particularly memorable is his numerous malapropisms, sometimes even called Dogberryisms after him, which means that he uses incorrect words in the place of the correct word which has a similar sound. For example, Dogberry tells his watchman, "You shall comprehend all vagrant men," when what he really means to say is, "You shall apprehend all vagrant men." When Dogberry approaches Leonato before the wedding, he is on top form with his malapropisms, using odorous instead of odious, exclamation instead of acclamation, and auspicious instead of suspicious, and so on. Due to his inability to understand what Dogberry is saying and his frustration with the bumbling officer not getting straight to the point, Leonato dismisses him and does not learn of the plot to frame Hero. It's ironic that the only person who knows the truth is the one person who has difficulty telling others about it, while false news gets told on the drop of a hat. So, getting back to the story, all seems to be going well until the friar asks Claudio if he wants to take Hero as his lawfully wedded wife. And rather than just say, "Nah," he starts shouting about how she is impure and unfaithful. In a rage, Claudio and Don Pedro leave the church, along with Don John, who is extremely happy that his plan is working. Hero collapses and is looked after by Bien Ben. Her father tells them to let her die, since that would apparently be better than letting her live in shame. But then good old Friar Francis comes up with a plan. He believes Hero is innocent, and in order to get to the bottom of this rumor, suggests that they keep Hero hidden and tell everyone she has died of shock. And well, who can blame her if she did? After the plan has been set, Beatrice and Benedict are alone together, and Ben confesses his love for her. Instead of asking for some jewelry or flowers, Beatrice asks her beau to kill Claudio for what he did to Hero. Benny is, understandably, taken aback, but reluctantly agrees to fight his friend. Later, Leonato tells Claudio and Don Pedro that Hero is dead because of them. Benedict then shows up and challenges Claudio to a duel after informing everyone that Don John has fled the city, which makes them scratch their heads and think maybe he had something to do with all this drama. Then, Dogberry comes in with his two prisoners and is finally able to explain the whole Hero with another guy in the window thing. All this information makes Don Pedro and Claudio feel awful for behaving like idiots, and, serves them right. Leonato then tells Claudio that in order to be forgiven for killing Hero, he will marry Antonio's daughter, who happens to look exactly like Hero. So at the second wedding, Claudio is waiting to marry Antonio's daughter when his bride shows up and he can't get over just how much she looks like Hero. And soon he realizes that he is in fact marrying Hero because she's not dead after all, and all is forgiven very quickly, because Shakespeare. At the wedding reception, Beatrice and Benedict deny their love for each other, but their friends call them out on it and show them the love letters that they had written for each other. So finally, because they realize they truly do love each other, and because their names sound so good together, Beatrice and Benedict decide to get married. Suddenly, a messenger crashes the party and tells everyone that Don John has been arrested for trying to flee the country. I mean, it's a comedy. The bad guy can't win. Benedict tells everyone to worry about it later and to enjoy the rest of the party.